2, 3.
Hello everyone, today we'll be presenting our research titled How the Design of Roguelikes Redefines Innovation in Gaming, a study through Hades. We'll explore how the game Hades offers innovative design by maintaining long-term player engagement through a narrative, gameplay, and visual integration. Next. The roguelike genre is known for its emphasis on repetition and progression through failure. Unlike many traditional games, roguelikes push players to restart after each run, learning from each attempt. One standout example is Hades by Supergiant Games, an indie roguelike that captivated players with its unique blend of gameplay, storytelling, and visual design. This study aims to investigate how Hades keeps players engaged, despite the simplicity of its core loop. Next. To analyze Hades, we applied four main theoretical frameworks. The first one is Mihali's flow theory, which explains how players stay deeply engaged when challenge and skills are balanced. Players feel flow when they have a clear goal, have a balanced challenge, and can stay fully focused without distractions. Next, we use the self-determination theory, or the SDT. This theory says that motivation comes from three basic needs: autonomy, the freedom to make your own choices; competence, feeling skilled and challenged just enough; and relatedness, feeling emotionally connected to characters or the world. Next. We also used the ludonarrative theory, which looks at how the gameplay and the story interact. Some games have a disconnect, where the gameplay says one thing and the story says another. That's called ludonarrative dissonance. Lastly, we also use Saussures semiotics to look at the game's visual language. For example, every image in Hades has a sign with a signifier and a signified. Next.
Okay, so let's talk about our approach. We used a qualitative case study focused specifically on the game Hades. To collect our data, we designed a structured questionnaire and surveyed 164 Gen Z respondents. Each participant responded using a 7-point Likert scale. The survey was grouped around self-determination theory, focusing on three core needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. And to strengthen our analysis, we brought in three supporting frameworks: flow theory, ludonarrative theory, and Saussures semiotics. And our main goal is to identify which aspect of Hades most and least engage players. And moving on to the findings and discussion. For the unexpected findings, players were older than we expected. We discovered 36% of respondents that are above the age of 25 years old. Moving on to the autonomy satisfaction. Players reported feeling a strong sense of control and freedom in Hades. Scores ranged between 5.87 and 6.44, showing they appreciated weapon customization and choosing their own playstyle. This shows that players' agency was a major factor in motivation and replayability. And on the other hand is the frustration. Frustration in autonomy was relatively low. Statements like "many actions are boring" scored an average of just 1.92, showing the game remains dynamic. However, some players felt slightly limited in interaction, scoring around 3.5, indicating a small area for improvement.
Right after that, we have competence satisfaction. The result shows that respondents have extremely high satisfaction, with averages above 6.2. This indicates players felt their skills improved, challenges were fair, and failure was motivating, not punishing. This supports flow theory, where the balance between difficulty and skill creates deep engagement. Next. On competence frustration, the respondents show low frustration levels for statements like I lack the skills average only at 2.87 and performance frustration at 2.41. This shows Hades creates an experience where players feel capable and progress naturally, helping them stay engaged without burnout. Next. Then we have relatedness satisfaction. Relatedness was the most fulfilled need overall, with scores above 6.5, and 79.3% of players selected story and characters as the most appealing aspect. This highlights how emotional attachment and immersion through characters' interaction were essential for engagement. Next. In relatedness frustration was extremely low for players because they strongly disagreed with statements like the storyline was hard to follow. It's also supported by the world and community of Hades that were perceived as rewarding, reinforcing the importance of strong social and narrative design. Next. In terms of ludonarrative theory, we asked players what aspect of Hades they found most appealing. The top responses were story and characters at 79.3%, followed closely by the combat system at 77.4%. This shows that narrative and gameplay are equally important in keeping players engaged. According to ludonarrative theory, when gameplay and story work together, immersion improves. About 80% of our respondents agreed that Hades' story supported their decision during play. This alignment between player action and narrative progression is a key strength of the game. From social semiotics perspective, visuals matter just as much. More than 60% of players rated the game's art and aesthetics very highly. As one respondent put it, it's a beautiful adaptation of Greek myth and brilliant combat system. It sucks you in and makes you want to keep playing. This reflects how visual elements act as symbols that enhance emotional depth and storytelling. Next.
Players generally experience a high level of autonomy and competence while playing Hades. This is essential to achieve flow, where players feel immersed, motivated, and personally invested in the game. As we can see in the top charts, autonomy satisfaction average are high, especially for choice like weapon builds and playstyle. Frustration level are low overall, but some players, scoring around 3.5, did feel they could have more freedom or interaction, suggesting a minor area for improvement. Looking at the bottom chart, competence satisfaction scores are consistently high, all above 6.2, with players reporting that failure motivated them to try again. Frustration related to skill or performance is low, averaging between 2.4 and 2.8. This means player felt challenged but capable, a hallmark of well-balanced game that sustain flow. Next. To conclude our research, we found that the most engaging aspect of Hades is its narrative and characters, cited by nearly 80% of participants. Strong world building and emotional depth keep players invested in coming back. The least contributing factors was autonomy frustration. While some players wanted more freedom, the overall impact was minor, as score was still low. This study contributes quantitative insight into what keeps players engaged in indie games, helping developers focus on what matters: storytelling, emotional design, and player satisfaction. We also found the gameplay and narrative are tightly integrated, creating a seamless experience, and that the visual reinforced the game's mythological theme, enhancing immersion. Lastly, we learned that the audience is older than we expected, with most players over 25, challenging the idea that roguelikes mainly attract Gen Z. Next. These are our reference detail. Next. Let's conclude our presentation on how Hades redefined innovation in gaming. Thank you for your attention.